What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you learn how to reach new people online, build influence, and attract ideal clients. And we're talking with a phenomenal repeat guest. Jim Remley is back. And we're talking about urban flight and the top 5 strategies for 2021. I can't believe this dumpster fire of a year is almost over. It cannot get over fast enough. And in fact, by the time we hit 2021, I might say the same thing about that fire, dumpster fire of a year too, because who knows how that's going to go. But there's going to be some very interesting things that come about next year. Urban flight is just one of them. And so we're going to talk about the time 2020. Greg is showing a picture of an actual dumpster fire. I love it. But we're going to talk about that and really what to do in the changing environment. And if you are like me in San Diego, which we just went into the hardest lockdown that we've had since March, essentially, we're going to talk about what the potential implications are of this on again, off again lockdown stuff, and how we need to maybe change the way we run our real estate businesses to accommodate and to prepare for that, and some things that agents are doing around the country that are working. So before we bring in Jim, we don't have Gene yet with us in the building. The Evil Bald Ninja is not here, so I only have to welcome my esteemed colleague, co-host, firmly ensconced in the co-pilot seat, Greg McDaniel, Junior Grandmaster. What's up today?
What up, man? Hey, I'm excited. We are having a lot of fun talking off air and kind of in regards to a lot of different subject matters, but I'm really kind of, I'm honestly interested to hear what Jim's going to talk about when it comes to the urban flight. Where are we going? How are we doing it? Should we do it? I actually just picked up a $1.8 million listing. It's another 5-acre parcel. I don't know why I keep listing 5-acre parcels, but it's on top of a hill. Wow. And you could build like a 6,000 square foot home with a safe room and everything else in it. And I'm like, this guy, the agent who had it before, couldn't sell it for 3 years. We also didn't do shit for it, so it doesn't really matter. But talk about a good time to sell land. I mean, think about this. I mean, it's just like want to get. And I was talking to Eileen, my team manager, about this. I'm like, we should use the Southwest slogan of "Want to get away."
Yes, love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Jim, officially welcome. Since we're already laughing together, we might as well just officially welcome you. What's up today?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm glad to be here. It's always exciting to talk to you guys. I love being on the show.
Yeah, we love having you. I was telling you before the show, so I'll give you a public compliment too. You had me on your podcast, so I want you to plug what the name is and where people can go get it, because it was one of the most fun, entertaining, free-flowing interviews that I've done. And I'm on podcasts 3 or 4 times a month, and it was a blast. We talked about microfamous and how that applies to agents, because essentially it's like I've really come to realize it's the marketing system that I built for myself as an introvert. Yeah. So if you're also an introvert, or you just don't want to be a social media extrovert all the time like Gary Vee, this is like the perfect marketing system. So we talked about all that stuff. So where can people go to get that conversation?
Yeah, just hop on to really any podcasting platform, look up eRealEstateCoach, and you'll find it. So that's where we're at. eRealEstateCoach with Jim Remley. But I have to tell you, Matt, I've been stealing your stuff, for like the last 3 weeks since I listened to it. I'm acting like I never heard it from you. I'm just repeating it out there like I'm really smart, super intelligent guy. No, I give you credit.
So you have plenty of your own stuff. I was going to say, when we jumped into that conversation, we realized how much of our content like fits together like puzzle pieces. It was really fun. All right. So for people that don't remember your first appearance, give us just the 60-second bio, who you are, where you are, what you do.
So I am in beautiful Southern Oregon, where it's freezing cold this morning. Got my sweater on. I love sweaters because it hides all the wrinkles. Don't have to iron shirts. Perfect for me. So I run a company down here. We have 160 brokers doing $1 billion in sales and a population base of 80,000. So we have one of the highest per agent productivity rates in the country. We're a Real Trends top 500 company. And that's a 60-second version of my life.
Now, how many is that spread out over multiple locations, or 160 agents in one office?
We have one kind of mothership. We've got 2 branch offices. The mothership's in Medford. We've got an office in Ashland, Oregon, which is just over border from California, and one for those of you that are Duck fans up in beautiful Eugene, Oregon.
Gotta love it. All right. So there's I was going to say I've got a friend that we're launching a podcast for that wants to talk to folks that are expanding into other locations, because it has its own challenges. You can be really good at building one office, and then you go to build that second and third office and realize, oh crap, all the stuff that I thought worked just doesn't automatically carry over. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about urban flight. What are you seeing? What are you hearing when you put your ear to the ground of real estate? What's coming back?
Well, it's interesting with urban flight. I mean, this is a topic you're seeing a lot of economists talking about now. You're seeing NAR's talking about it. The NRA, Zillow's talking about it. You know, all the majors are talking about urban flight. At first, it was kind of like urban flight denial. Nobody wanted to admit it was happening. And then all of a sudden, everybody's looking at the numbers, and the numbers are showing that it's happening.
That's right. People aren't moving out of here. How dare you? U-Haul trucks are not thousands of dollars more. Yeah, exactly.
We're staying. But a lot of numbers coming out. I'll give you just a few numbers just to kind of highlight what's happening. New York State, there's a 44% increase in homes for sale, home sales in the suburban counties around actually New York City proper. At the same time, the number of properties sold in Manhattan proper declined 56%. This is the last quarter. So massive exodus out into the suburbs. A couple other great examples: Santa Barbara, where California, net inflow increased 124% in the third quarter compared to the same time last year. Louisiana, 113% increase. Buffalo, 107% increase. These are areas that are not necessarily considered the most metro. They're less metro than maybe their neighbors are, right? Mm-hmm. Tulsa has a program now called Tulsa Remote, where they are paying people to move to the city that are urban flight folks that are saying, hey, your urban flight, come to Tulsa. We're going to pay you to come here.
No
right?
way.
Yeah, for sure.
Smart.
And then you combine that with what's happening with renters. So if you're a renter and you're renting in, let's say, San Francisco, you're paying one of the highest rental rates in the country. New York City, Manhattan, you're paying one of the highest rental rates in the country. All these renters that are now remote working are saying to themselves, wait a second, what am I doing here? Yeah. I could go buy a house in a suburb and have a better lifestyle. Here's two stats that back that up. Equity Residential. They have a portfolio across the country, mid to high rise buildings on the East and West Coast. Stock is down 43% so far this year. Another one, Avalon Bay, similar mix of properties, down 35% this year. And a lot of places are seeing their rents falling by a third, by half. They're having to get really aggressive, something we haven't seen in these big cities forever. I mean, when's the last time you heard of anybody reducing their rents in the big city? Never. No. It's happening right now.
Yeah, it's happened. Wow. We've seen San Francisco drop about 30%. In the last article I took a look at, we dropped another 7% month over month.
Wow.
We're just seeing like a just vertical drop.
Nosedive, right?
Nosedive. And come on, man. How many times can you actually get, because we were at $3,700 for a 1-bedroom, kind of shitbox condo, for rent. We were higher than Manhattan. We were the highest rental in the entire country. And I gotta be honest. I mean, I love San Francisco, but it ain't worth that much.
Yeah,
are you kidding me? Nah. I'll take a 20-minute drive and be able to get a much bigger house. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. And there's a new study done by USA Today, which says that 1/3 of Americans are saying after COVID, they plan to move from where they live now. That's 1/3 of Americans are planning a move after COVID. So you think everybody's mentality is changing. The shelter in place has changed the way we think about housing. We were kind of on this track, all of us, where we were kind of getting squeeze on space because cost per square foots were going up. So everybody was kind of moving towards micro. That's reversing. You watch. It's going to go back to macro. And people are going to want bigger and bigger housing. The two things that people want today, when you interview them and say, what are you looking for in a house when you're moving? Bigger space inside and outside the home.
I was going to say sex and love, but okay, sure. I mean, that works too.
Yeah, either one.
I was going to say, by the way, the order in which Greg listed those is telling, but that's, again, another conversation for another day. But that's really interesting because I wouldn't have expected that because now granted, I am single and childless, right? So like the words "I need more square footage" have never escaped my lips, right? I specifically did not move this year or plan to move this upcoming year to add like another bedroom or anything like that. I just improved the space where I'm at and stayed because I'm like, in San Diego, I don't want to pay the extra amount for that extra space.
Why would you?
Right? Yeah. I want to be in the city center. Right. I'm not one of those that's moving out looking for more square footage. But I suppose if you have kids.
Well, if you've been quarantined with kids for the last 6
months. Right. You want a lot of square footage.
Space, right?
And maybe a night nurse and an au pair.
Ooh, Lisa B. I see. Yes, I was on your program last week. Nice to see you. Glad you're here.
Lisa, and Lisa, welcome back from the dead. She was very sick. She is now better. So welcome. So glad you're here. But to kind of dovetail on what you guys are saying in regards to, I don't need more square footage like what Matt is saying, but I do understand why people are looking for more square footage. And here's a weird thing about this. I don't think I've even told you this, Matt, yet. One of the things that I'm actually actively looking at is to get to a certain point in monthly revenue where I am then going to 100% look into the opportunities of becoming an expat and traveling around the world, living in different countries, 3 to 6 months in different places, and just get the blank out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the stress, man. Fuck it. I'd rather eat bananas in a hut on the beach than deal with the bullshit. It's just to the point where you're freaking out. Like you're just like, I can't take this anymore. So I get it. 100%.
Yeah. So interesting thing about renters too. There was a new study, 1.92 million U.S. renters. That's 4.5% of the renter households across the country. Wow. Now are looking at moving. They're actively put their hand up and say, I'm looking at moving out of these metro markets. That's a huge amount. 4.5% of renters across the country looking to exit and go to suburbs. You can't understate the magnitude of this change. Fed Chairman Powell, I don't know if you saw that interview yesterday. He had a news conference and it shook up the market. And what he said was that the way the economy that we had prior to COVID is not the same economy. When we talk about recovery, when we come out of COVID, is not going to be the same economy as what we went in. That's gone. That whole thing is gone. We're going to have a post-COVID economy that's completely different, and it's going to involve a lot of people are not going to go back to working in an office. Virtual schools will be much more common now, and those two things of remote schools and remote working. See, remote working started this kind of trend where you could remote working, like, okay, maybe I'll move. But what was tethering you still to your location in a lot of cases was schools. You still have your kid in school and you're like, I don't want to take them out of school. They got friends and everything else. But then when remote schools started happening, you're like, well, what the freak? I'll just go. We're all remote anyway. We're all remote. Let's go. And that's what's happened.
So, Jim, let me ask you a question really quickly. Yeah. When it comes down, and again, Matt and I do not have children. I'm not sure if you do. I know Jean has 2 beautiful daughters. But hello, Jean Volpe, the evil bald ninja. We have the baldies below and the hair is above. This is good.
I was going to say, Jim, looking good, brother. Very handsome.
Yeah, this is before. This is after. Before, after. It gets better, not worse, right, bro?
Well, so here's
I keep telling my wife.
Oh my God, you guys are killing me. So here, let me ask you a question for the 2 gentlemen on the call that have kiddos and all the people that have kiddos. Being remote learning, that's one thing, right? Yeah. Moving out into the suburbs, that's another thing. But what's going to be the mental effect on the kids? Not terrible. Being around their small kids, being around their friends. I mean, how's that going to work?
It's terrible. I mean, I've got 4 kids. 2 are still in school, and it you can see the mental stress of not being around and not having social interaction.
Really?
I mean, I take them to the park every day just to have social interaction, just to see other kids and be around other kids, and it's definitely it has an impact. There's no question. And no amount of Zoom meetings is going to solve that until we get back to actually having these kids around each other.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about our society in general, though, is we've been moving away from socialization with kids because they've had all these devices. I was just having this conversation with another parent the other day about this issue of, in my day, back in the 80s when I was a teenager, we would actually have parties and we would actually go to a party. Teenagers don't do parties anymore. I mean, they do it on TV, but you don't really see a lot of like parties, like going into a parent's house and destroying a kind of party. That doesn't happen anymore. It's just a different kind of, they connect more through their, social media more than they have ever done before. Kids are getting licenses later in life. Very interesting. But just in terms of COVID, it's definitely having an impact to answer your question.
It's a fascinating concept because I remember when I was in high school and everything else. I mean, we would go to keggers and get weird, and have fun, and trash houses. And I mean, I remember walking into parties with a backpack full of beer and just getting smashed and having a great time. And everyone's just mushed together like this, moving through the crowd. And it wasn't a good party unless you were like belly to belly, face to face with every single human being at the party. So when it comes to the real estate side, I grew up 21 years in the business as of this recording, and I started my business doing door knocking and cold calls and mailers. And is that all going away? Are you seeing a shift? Do people even want you to show up at their front door? It goes back to the mentality of kind of where everyone's brains are going. I have a good friend of mine, her name's Pam. Wonderful woman. She has a couple of kiddos, and her kids literally do not want to leave the house anymore. Yeah. Because they've been conditioned in their brain that if they go out there, they're going to get grandma and grandpa sick if they go over to their dad's house, and then they're going to kill grandma and grandpa.
I think prospecting will change to some degree, but fundamentally, I think it's still going to get down to human-to-human contact. I think what's happened over the last 10 years is there's been a trend away from human-to-human contact, and we've moved towards instant gratification, where agents just want a buyer or seller handed to them. They don't want to do any work for it. They would rather pay Realtor.com and Zillow, just hand it to me, and then I'll go out and work it. But only give me the good ones, and I'll pay you $5,000 a month to Zillow, so I don't have to talk to anybody. I mean, that's kind of what their attitude's been, right? Yeah. And that's a terrible attitude when it comes to prospecting. But here, in terms of COVID right now, I'll give you some strategies around this urban flight that is really working. But just to answer your question, Greg, one of the things that's my students are really doing, and it's really working well, is they're actually leaning into pop-bys. They're leaning into going and talking to people in person. Really? But here's how they're doing it. They're doing it contactless drop-off. So they text the person in the morning. They say, hey, I got you a little gift for Thanksgiving. I'm dropping at your door. I'm going to ring your doorbell just like the pizza delivery guy now. You don't have to come to the door if you don't want to, but it will be at your door. I just want to let you know I'm dropping something to buy. What do you think happened? What do you think happens 98% of the time? 98% of the time, they ring the doorbell, and then people run to the door because they haven't seen anybody in 3 weeks. And they're like, oh my God, I haven't seen anybody. Thank you so much for coming. I want to talk to you. Please. And even if they social distance, they still want to have conversation. Yep. And sometimes they'll come out on the doorstep and they'll have conversation, and they crave human contact right now. Yeah. Right. So it definitely has an impact.
I talked to my pizza delivery guy for 45 minutes last night.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh my God.
Were you trying to convert him to Mormonism? I mean, what
I'm kidding. I'm only kidding.
No, but it's true.
Say, like, don't call me, but at least call Greg.
Yeah, right. I'll talk to you.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm a good-hearted fool. Yeah, I'll take the call.
Well, listen, I can't call you Matt Johnson because you're apparently on the moon. What are you, in NASA headquarters? What's going on with what's behind you? This is a new look for you. I don't understand what's happening here.
I told you I was upgrading my place.
It looks great.
Yeah. It looks great. No, but here's the interesting thing, Jim, and I'm going to dovetail on what you're saying. A lot of people are, shit, man. When COVID landed, I was, hello, Lunar, Apollo 11. Are you there? Hello. But I mean, when I do calls now, I stopped when COVID started because I'm like, well, I can't go over to everyone's house. I mean, no one wants to see me. But then I kind of let that rest for a little bit. And like what you're saying, Jim, is that I'm seeing a massive resurgence. Like everybody I call on the phone, for the most part, I haven't had one rude person when I do my beers and calls. Everyone's like, oh my God, a human. How are you? No, I don't want to sell my house, but tell me about your favorite color. Like, let's talk.
So do you offer pizza delivery? Okay. All right. So we've talked about urban flight. I know that was one of the top 5 strategies is to really take advantage of the fact that people are looking for more square footage, more distance. They don't need to be close to their job as much as they used to. Like, that's just not going to be a factor the way it used to be.
Let me give you some tactical stuff around that real quick, Matt, because it's one thing to understand, but what do you do about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to give you just 2 or 3 things really fast that really can work. One is you've got to decide, am I in an urban market? Like if I'm in an urban market, then people are, by default, probably more so than not exiting my market. Right. So I'm going to be focused on maybe targeting sellers and using the message of, hey, are you looking to relocate? And the words relocation have to be now your mantra. Relocation. And you need to do a little digital footprint test of yourself and look at all your marketing and say, do I even talk about relocation on anything? Is anything I have talk about relocation? Does my website have relocation on it? Am I SEO'd around relocation? Is my marketing speaking to relocation? Does anything I do have relocation? Does my listing presentation have relocation? If it does not, you've got to redesign it all right now and put relocation into it big time, because that is massive that you are now, and speak to it. I'm a global realtor, not a local realtor. I can help you nationwide. I can help you find an agent anywhere you're going in the country. Where would you like to live? Where would you like to see yourself being in 5 years? You get into those conversations and dig deep with that. So number one is relocation. Center yourself on it. Second is begin, if you are somebody that is in more of a rural market, you live in a rural market or a suburban market, it doesn't have to be rural, but suburban, you can identify feeder markets. So for me, I'll give you an example of, I'm in Southern Oregon. So a natural feeder market for me would be San Francisco. I mean, it's 6 hours away from us. So that's a natural, millions of people there trying to get out, right? So for me, what I am going to do now is I'm going to farm realtors in that market. I'm farming realtors in that market so I can be their go-to person for Southern Oregon real estate. They have a client moving to Southern Oregon. I want to be their number one person they turn to. How do I do it? I'm going to do it like I farm anything else: postcards, calls, text, reaching out through social media, friending them. And I'm going to have them, here's my message to them. Hey, listen, I'm a realtor in Southern Oregon. If you have anybody in the next year or 2 or 3 or 4 that's coming this way, I pay a 32.34% referral rate to you. And you're going to like, why is the oddball referral rate? Because I want them to remember me. It's not going to be the standard 25%. It's 31.25%, whatever your oddball number is, right? It's just something they can latch onto, right? Some pattern recognition thing. And then I'm going to follow it up. It's just a matter of consistency. So farming, realtors in other markets. Here's another one that's for those of you that are techie watching this, and you're like more on the tech side, and you kind of gravitate towards that. Using LinkedIn is a great, a lot of you aren't using LinkedIn as an ad strategy. We're always on Facebook and Google, but LinkedIn has its own ad platform there. So within LinkedIn, imagine this. Imagine that you're going to use the in-messaging part of, you can buy Sales Navigator within LinkedIn for $79 a month. Then you can target people very specifically in LinkedIn. Now imagine this. I'm going to read off some of the places that are allowing remote working for me in San Francisco. Google, number one. Facebook is Twitter, Slack, Tanium. I just found like 20,000 employees in this like close to me area that have the ability to work remotely just from that little list. But now I can target them on LinkedIn by where they work. You can do the same thing. If you are near an urban center and there's a large employer like Amazon that allows remote working, you target them by where they work, and you say, "I see in your message, you're in your message inside LinkedIn that goes directly to them is, I see you work at Amazon. Have you? And I know they are now allowing remote working. Have you ever considered moving to the beautiful Southern Oregon? I'd love to be your realtor. Let's have a conversation." Do you think anybody's going to respond to that? Guarantee you, out of 100 people, somebody's going to respond to that, right? So that's just a few strategies around urban flight. We could talk about for all day around those things, but that's a few ways to kind of unlock some thoughts and thinking around it.
Well, I think it's perfect. I mean, it is. I mean, LinkedIn, I scoffed at LinkedIn for quite a while, and I laughed at Matt behind the scenes, and I've told him that publicly. I'm like, this is a stupid strategy. And then I screwed my head on. I'm like, oh, Johnson might be onto something. He's not a micro Johnson. He's a macro Johnson. And it is a phenomenal tool when used right. You can really wield some power with that. And I love, Jim, where your brain is going with this. And Gina, I want you to weigh in on this. When it comes down to being hyper local focused, like who do I want to talk to? How can I help people? Where are people looking at the patterns of where people are going to and hit them? And those are now your new target market. Instead of like, I'm Greg McDaniel with eXp Realty. I love everybody. Come work with me. It's like, no. Jim, you're at Amazon. You're in San Francisco. You don't have to be there anymore. Come to me, my friend. Come, my child. Yes, let us abound in love and joy and do real estate deals together. Gene, with this knowledge, how would you go after this if LinkedIn was not a factor? How would other people? Would you do live videos, Instagram stories? Would you do IGTV? What would you do, man?
Yeah, all those things. I would do what we're employing in our area right now with some of our agents, which is have them reach out to some of the local business owners that are influential and have a big following, and go down and do them a solid and say to them, let's just take a restaurant. You got a restaurant that has 6,500 people that follow it. We're going to go in there and interview that general manager and talk about how they've successfully gotten through COVID and what the hours are and what people can get and expect. And all we're doing is getting on screen with the guy or girl there, and we're helping promote their business. And that's going to come back to us tenfold because we're doing the right thing. And we now have an audience of 6,500 people that know we're real estate agents that are that we didn't have yesterday. So that's one way to do it.
Love it. Great.
Yeah, we got our boy, Mr. Joshua Smith, who heads up the GSD podcast. Joshua, what up, homie? He loves you, Jim, by the way. You're the best.
Yeah, I love Joshua. I've had him on my program. I've been on his a couple of times. Joshua's a killer, an absolute genius. Love it.
Great dude. Yep.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit. I mean, Jim, do you see the ebb and flow back into urban areas at any point? Or do you think this is like a complete and total 180 mindset shift? People are going to say, you know what? Urban density was fun. And I'll be 100% honest, man. Like Walnut Creek, I love Walnut Creek, but the food selections suck. And
Right.
you only like 5 places you want to go because the other places have bad food, health scores and so on and so forth. And then like, what about the whole urban lifestyle? Like, all the billions of food, all the different education, all the culture, all that stuff. Do you feel that's going to be something of the past? Like my never going to be had kids or would read about it in history books?
No, I think in general, people have short memories, right? So I think this will be a trend. I think it'll be a macro trend, though. I think it'll be a big trend. But if you're looking at opportunities, like if you're a long-term investor, I would say as you're looking at this mass exodus, and I think it'll happen for 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's going to be over when COVID's over. I think we're going to see it go. And I think it'll bottom out, though. And when it bottoms out, that'll be the time for investors, if they're smart, coming into these markets and buying it up, because it will trend backward. It's like the ebb and a flow, but I do think it's going to be real serious pain for a lot of people in those markets that are, big time investors that may have bought at the top and have been counting on super high rents. I think it's going to be a struggle. I don't think it's going to be a 2-year bounce back for them or something. I think it's more like a 5-year, 10-year bounce back.
So here's another question about that then. And this is, I've been really kind of going over this. Like, what's going to happen to all the commercial, all these strip malls, all these local businesses, all this stuff? I mean, that's got to be a brutal hit.
Let me give you some numbers around that, because that's one of my targets right now is business owners. So just some new stats just came out. It was just posted up. You can check it out over at NAR's economists blog over there. They've got it, the numbers, but it shows what's happening with retail sales. Surprisingly, retail sales compared to last year at the same time is up 10.1%. I mean, I was kind of shocked when I saw the number. You're like, what? That, it's crazy. You got to excluding travel, you exclude travel, you exclude auto sales, but just straight up retail sales are up. But here's the underlying numbers behind that. 61, maybe 62% of all sales are done on, take a drum roll. What do you think?
Online.
No, not even online, on your phone. Can you imagine that? So 62% of retail sales happening on your phone, which means the winners in this game is like Amazon, the big retailers that have a huge online presence. The losers are mom and pop shops, maybe in retail stores and that kind of thing, like you're talking about, Greg. And then you drill deeper in that same article. You can find it. 8,000 retail stores across the country have closed since COVID started. 8,000 retail stores. About 3,000 stores have opened, so it's like a 8-to-2 ratio or something like that. So that 3,000 number is pretty common, but the 8,000 is a pretty vertical line. It's a big number. So for us out there, when we're talking to business owners, it's a real struggle if they're a retail shop, and if they're a restaurant or a bar, it's even worse. But
would it be a good time, like blood in the waters? Is it a good time to go out and start snatching up retail? And then,
I don't think so. I wouldn't buy any retail, but here's what you can do to help, right? I have like 4 strategies we're using to help local stores, because we're all local businesses. We want to support local, right? So my 4 strategies is to first look through your database, see who owns businesses, any kind of business. We're all affected. And I'm going to reach out to those business owners and say, hey, listen, I'm going to feature a business on my social media every week throughout COVID. And I want to feature you this week. I want to support local businesses. And then you talk about your assets. You're like, I've got 2,000 people on Instagram. I've got 3,000 people on my Facebook page. Is there anything you'd like to offer to this audience to try to encourage them to come see you? You want to throw out a gift, some kind of incentive. So number one, you're going to encourage them and try to help them. Second thing you're going to do with them is you're going to try to give them some brainstorming. So you can say, hey, I'm going to put together a little brainstorming group. Could be on Zoom, or could be like 4 or 5 of you meeting at a coffee shop once a week. I've seen a lot of agents doing this successfully. And you're bringing 4 or 5 business owners together and you're just brainstorming, trying to help, right? Trying to give them solutions. And then third thing you're going to do is just be someone that's actually talking to them. You know, when somebody gets sick, and I don't know if you've ever experienced it in your family, but somebody gets seriously ill, you have a minute where people rush towards you. But then really quickly, people move away from you, right? People actually don't want to be around sick people. They don't really want to deal with it because it's too tough. They're just like, let's not even deal with it. And that's what's happened with businesses. Poor business owners had a lot of love in March, had a lot of love in April, but then everybody's disappearing, right? Like, sorry to hear about your luck. You need to be somebody that sticks with them and is calling them and consistently engaging with them. And the last thing is, the fourth thing is, some of those people are going to need to liquidate. Some of them will not survive this. 8,000 haven't so far. So they may need to sell their location. They may need to sublease their location. They may need to close a location. They may need to sell a rental property or their personal home just to keep funding the business. And that's where you're there because you've been there and you've been standing near them.
Jim, it's funny that we're talking about this. I literally just got an email from patch.com. It says contra cost accounting, closing indoor dining, gyms, and movies. And I'm like, I didn't know movies were open. But I mean, well, congratulations. So sorry to hear that. But,
wow.
But I mean, but this kind of an email that I got right here. This is an ideal opportunity, like what you were talking about. Reach out to the Chamber of Commerce. They shouldn't be douches about this. They should be very open to helping. Say, hey, give me a list of every business owner part of your association. And then, and this is actually content I got from another podcast I listened to. I thought it was genius because then you reach out to them and say, look, give me some stock photos of your business. I'm going to put them up on my Instagram, on my Facebook stories, on my IGTV. I'm going to tag you. I'm going to highlight you. Like you were saying, is there something I can give away? But you do a business every single day or a business a week or whatever it's going to be. Talk about being able to talk about building a friendship.
Oh, they'll never forget you. They will never, ever forget that you tried to help. Even if you couldn't help, they'll never forget you tried to help. That's going to be a major impact for them. No question about it, for sure.
Matt, this is why you need to become more of an extrovert and go talk to humans. Get out of the house. Stop peeing in bottles. This is not sanitary. We've talked about this, man. Gosh.
Peeing in bottles. So I went from being cold and heartless and having a tiny black piece of coal where my heart should be to now an agoraphobe who pees in bottles. This is amazing, considering I also have a wife and 3 extremely obese diabetic children.
Wood denting troll babies. Yeah,
exactly. Hey, if I'm nothing if not a multitasker. Exactly. There you go. There's the 3 kids. Okay. So this is awesome. But I do 100% agree, Jim. I think it's really sad to see that that's going to happen. But the bottom line is it goes down to the same reason that a lot of agents were successful in 08 and 09 when I looked at it and went, I don't like the business enough to stay in at that point. Yeah. Other people were looking at it going, yeah, but I know how to solve problems. And yes, the conversations are tough. But I think Greg Harrelson told me one time, is like the people that win during a recession are the ones that know how to have the hard conversations.
Exactly.
I thought that was really, really good.
I think it's your ability to pivot. You and I talked about this a little bit, Matt, on our podcast, but if you have agents that maybe have pivoted once a year, you can't do that in this market. You got to be pivoting like almost every week. Like there's a new opportunity. There's something coming across your desk. You got to pivot to stay ahead of the market and stay ahead of this crisis. I mean, just to give you an example, you guys are shutting down. We're on a 2-week pause in my county, and you have to pivot with these kind of crazy things that are happening in order to stay competitive. You just have to.
Can I ask you a question, Jim? This is something that kind of popped into my brain. There's a podcast that I listen to, and it's called Timcast, and he does political stuff, and I find him pretty interesting. And it's something that struck me the other day when I was listening to his podcast. I'm like, why do hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people instantaneously tune into him? One, he takes information, he disseminates it into the common language, and he gives his opinion on it. Here's one thing I've never seen done in the real estate industry. I've never seen, and I've talked to a couple of people about this, go to Inman News, go to whatever news source you want, and get an article about real estate that's going to affect the businesses or just anything that's going to affect the community around you. Why don't you read it, do 1 to 2 shows, maybe a week or maybe a day, whatever your tolerance is, but why don't you become that go-to news station for the local folks. I mean, a lot of folks, we say short sale. We know exactly what we're talking about when someone talks about a short sale. I had a good friend of mine. I love her to pieces, but she looked at me one day and she goes, Greg, so a short sale, that means it sells really fast. No, my dear good friend. No, it's not. And I had to explain to her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like my head exploded. Like the people that do not do this on a daily basis do not understand our lingo. They do not understand the real estate, how the deals are supposed to be run and what they need to be aware of. So why not break it down for them? You know?
I think it's a great idea. I think that's one of the things that you see with agents is a fear of embracing like what we're doing right now, a fear of talking to audiences and talking to people. But that is going to be the defining factor between agents that are really successful at a big scale rather than a small scale. I had somebody tell me it was the Dr. Phil approach. And this is such a great analogy to what you're saying, Greg. So here you think about Dr. Phil for a second, guys. Dr. Phil has a choice in his career. Dr. Phil can meet with one person or one family at a time and help that one person or one family. And he can counsel them, and he makes maybe he's super good and he's making $400 or $500 an hour, right? He's like top of his craft, $400 or $500. Or he creates a television show and he's speaking to thousands, millions of people at the same time. And now he's elevated and he makes millions and millions of dollars because he's speaking to a large audience. We're a lot of times like that. We could be super, super, super good at what we do. But, if you don't have visibility, you got a problem. I was just having this conversation with someone else on my coaching platform. We're talking about the difference between being visible and invisible in your market. So you could have somebody that's like the best of the best realtor, like a killer realtor, like the person you want to represent them. But because no one knows about them in the market because they're not visible, they have very few clients. But then you have the exact reverse of this. You have the agents that are super visible on social media, super visible in the community that suck. They're terrible. The worst realtor on earth. And they're like, how does this freaking idiot do $100 million in business? It's because they're visible. They're visible, right? Yeah. Visibility matters, and we got to be visible, right? So hopefully we're the best. We're a good agent and we're visible. That's what we're looking for.
A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to do a radio show on a station called KGO 810. We're the biggest mama jamba in all of the Bay Area, 50,000 watt. I mean, this thing went all the way up to the border, all the way down to like almost down like Fresno. So we ran the state, right? Wow. Now it was freaking expensive, and so I quit doing it. But my mindset was find the biggest possible stage I can get on, and then use a megaphone to shout, and just don't stop, and that's why Matt loves me so much, because I'm just always harassing him. I call him every day.
I was going to say, that's first of all, Greg getting on a biggest platform as possible and then using a megaphone and then shouting, that is the most perfect expression of Greg's personality I've ever heard in one sentence.
But it's true though. I mean, if you guys don't want to do radio shows, if you don't want to do all that stuff, find the biggest platform you're comfortable with and then start building and building and building and building. I have a good friend I keep telling you about. Her name is Stevie Hahn. She's out of Jacksonville, Florida. When I first started working with her about 5 years ago, when I say working with her, she was a fan of the show, and we became friends. She was scared to death of video. Like her own shadow scared her. But when she first started doing it, guys, it scared the piss out of her. She had to go drink a bottle of wine with her girlfriend to go shoot her first video. It was hilarious to watch them do this. But now that woman will not stay off camera. She will not stay off camera on every single platform, and she is doing phenomenally well because she takes the platform, she puts herself up where everybody can see her multiple times a day, but then she takes it offline as quickly as possible. Hey, let's go get a glass of wine. Let's go do a workout. Let's go walk the dogs on the beach. Let's do something like that. So they develop the relationship immediately. 75 to 85% of her business comes from doing digital marketing based upon wanting to be a human being. And like you were saying, Jim, the visibility is what makes the difference. Yep. Be willing to do something nobody else is willing to do and consistently do it. Find what you're tolerant, where you can do it, and then don't ever stop. And people will start looking. And so who cares, Jim? Let's say we have one person watch our first couple of shows. Okay. But then you have 2, then you have 4, then you have 10, then you have 100. It just multiplies over time. So are you telling your agents that, when they come to you, like I know you're not getting any visibility, just you can go ahead and stop. Nobody's going to care. Or you're like, no, man, just go.
I 100% agree. I mean, it's going to start small, and it's going to start with your own audience, and then it's going to grow from there. That's the goal. But even if it's with your own audience, that's okay too. It's kind of like what Matt's point about being famously influential with, I can't even remember the tagline, Matt, but famously influential with your own audience, right? I don't necessarily have to be out there with 100,000 people, as long as 1,000 people that are watching me are engaged with me, right? And I think that's, there's the book right there. You should all go out and buy it. It's a great book. But maybe it's a free book and you can even get it for free, maybe. I'm right.
That is true.
Okay. But I think that's the important point is that a lot of us are not even visible with our own audiences, which is crazy, right? We got to be visible with our own audiences and then grow from there. One thing I would say around that though is the issue of authenticity and really being authentic to your own voice. And sometimes we're trying to read scripts or we're trying to be someone we're not. We're trying to be like Ted Brokaw, if any of you remember that guy. That's who are we now? Anderson Cooper, maybe? I don't know.
Sure.
You're trying to be somebody that you're not. You got to be who you are. And it's really funny to me when you watch people do video for the first time, how they try to become somebody that they're not. And it's like almost hilarious to watch. You really want to settle into just being comfortable with who you are because your audience wants you to be comfortable. And I think that's a really important point too.
Yeah, and that's I just wanted to mention real quick, just because Greg, you're like, there's a certain segment of the audience that does relate to you because they are fellow extroverts. But if they're more like me, like you still want to get on the biggest platform that you're comfortable with. Yeah. And that might mean YouTube videos like we did. I was checking. So Greg, before we hopped on, I checked the YouTube stats of our channel, which everyone should go subscribe to. It's Real Estate Uncensored, and go look up the video with Jackson Wilkie, where he talks about the 3 videos that every realtor should do. Like that. YouTube is an amazing platform for introverts because you can make videos that are not about you flowing in the moment and being social and being extroverted, and everything doesn't have to be in the moment on the fly perfect. You can sit down and you can record a video and you can edit it and you can pick the best parts that you want and you upload it to YouTube and give people something that they're searching for, which is what Jackson's point was like, so Jim, you're in Medford, right?
Yeah.
So all of your agents should be creating videos about why people should move to either to Medford in general, but also specific neighborhoods of Medford. And then any other, they should be doing, videos about, hey, why move from San Francisco to Medford? Right. Get both of those keywords in there and start going out. Like YouTube is a big platform, but that doesn't mean it's a platform where you have to be social and have this huge personality in order to win. Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. Like there is a strategy and something that will work for everyone. It's not about being more like Greg. If you're like Greg already, by all means, be like Greg. But if you're more like me, then there's other platforms for you where you can do similar things and get similar results, just a little bit different tweak on the strategy.
That's a funny story about that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to tell a story too, but go ahead. You go first.
So I was doing a class about relocation because we talked a little bit about relocation. So I would often just bring up a random city I'd been to just to show the power of how you should focus your business around relocation. So I pulled up Park City, Utah, which I had been to, went to the Sundance Film Festival with my wife there one year. It was fantastic. So if you type in, I don't know if it still works because people have been listening to me say this, so maybe somebody's fixed it by now. But if you go into Park City, Utah, and you pull up the words relocation, Park City, Utah, when you come up, first of all, there was only one company that had positioned themselves around the words relocation. Out of all those agents in Park City, one company, not an agent, but a company had done it. One.
Just one?
Just one. At the time, I did this about a month ago, so it's not that old.
I'm going to search right now.
But yeah, look and see. So
I'm doing it.
And then on the, you're going to say, no, there's like 25 now. But what's really important about that is the video content, which is what Matt was speaking about right there. So if you go drill down deeper, most searches now have video results, right? And in the video results, the number one video was 5 reasons not to move to Park City, Utah. And I don't know if it's still there or not, but
it's the first one on the list.
There you go. It's still there. Someone needs to listen to me and go shoot that video for Park City.
That's hilarious.
But
oh my God.
But I did that. I hired Jackson and his team, and they put together, I think it's right here. Yeah, like a huge shoot list of all these different videos. And one of them was, 10 reasons not to move to San Francisco. And so I'm like, well, that's going to be simple. And this guy wrote me an email, goes, So are you trying to get me to move or not? Well, this is great information. Thanks so much. I have to relocate, and I really appreciate it. It's picking up buyers, guys. These things really work.
Yeah.
I want to dumb it down real quick. I want to tell a good story too. This literally just happened an hour ago. So about last Friday, a loan officer for a company, a national mortgage company, who's a very 24-year-old guy that's just getting into the business, teamed up with another loan officer from this company. Really sweet kid, calls me and says, I kind of want to do a video, but I've never done one and I'm nervous and all these things. And I said, just tell the people what you've done. And I kind of gave him some guidance. And it's basically a 1 minute and 40-second video about, my background, who I am. He's easy to watch, easy to look at. Like, it was real calming. And he goes through the process and he goes, and I just want you to know that I've teamed up with X, Y, and Z Mortgage. So he finally posted this morning. We did like literally a minute and a half of editing. He posted this morning, 6 hours ago. There's 20 comments, 97 likes, right? But here's the one.
Holy cow.
Well, listen, this is the one I want to point out. This is from, I'll tell you it's from, but this is like halfway down the feed. It says, okay, what's going on? Is Grammy the last to know? So the point is, which I thought was amazing, and I thought, somebody's in trouble with grandmother. But there's a real simple point here. Sometimes it's just a matter of just doing something real simple to remind your sphere. Like, it doesn't even have to be technical. Oh my God, we got to edit, and I got to put the banner on, and where do I put it? Just do a quick video and remind people that you're the expert in the area. Boom, boom, boom. And watch the engagement pile up, and then take advantage of that engagement to start and continue conversations. And you never know what's going to come out of it. I just thought that was funny.
So here's the thing that we work with Jake Wolf over at Clever Leads with a K, and we're building a lot of stuff with him. And that's the one thing he's always saying, like, just get out there and say hello. Never stop. Just always be putting your, what's his verbiage, Shane? Throttle, put the throttle down.
No, fire bullets down range.
Put bullets down range. And keep putting the throttle.
He's a military guy, Jim, just for those people who don't know.
It reminds me of Perry Marshall's Rack the Shotgun. Nobody knows what that means until you read his book, but it makes total sense. But if you don't know, it's like, wow, that sounds strangely, oddly aggressive for a marketing expert.
Yep.
But so here's the takeaway, guys. We're going to wrap this thing up, and selfishly, Jim, we're going to have you back on like once a month. I don't care what Matt says. And I love it when Matt gives me that confused, like, what are you talking about? I said nothing of that sort.
Oh wait, this is the best comment. Sean Munson says, "Damn it, I'm not far from Park City. I'm failing." Yes, you are, Sean. Fix that immediately.
Go do it today, bro.
Exactly.
Wait, you missed Sergeant Wolf's comment. That's the best comment. Elon Musk tested positive twice and negative twice in one day. Does that mean he's good? So confused.
Yeah. Can we just have the cycle threshold published? That's all I want. That's all I want. I just want to see the cycle thresholds. I don't see why that's so hard.
Oh my God, we are off topic. But off topic. So here's the thing, guys. What I want you to do today, and yes, Sean, I'm speaking directly to you. I want you to go shoot a video and just go talk, put it out there, and watch what comes back. If you guys want to get a little bit crazier, hire Gene and GVI Media to do some editing for you. If you want to do it on your own a little bit, you go to Fiverr, Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. Go hire someone who's good at SEO and keywords and build a list of videos so that you can start creating this stuff. And then you'll be able to come on over and hang out with Gene and his crew, and go talk to Jim, get some coaching from that genius, and if Matt picks up his phone, then you'll be blessed to have a quick conversation until he realizes you're actually on the line with him. Then he'll be, oh shit, wrong number. He'll hang up on you. But it'll be a short call. It'll be a short call. It'll be a micro famous call.
Okay. What the hell was all of that? Good Lord.
I don't know.
Oh my God. All right, Gene. I know you got to run. So Gene, how do people get in contact with you real quick before you leave?
Yeah, listen, right there on my thing there, genevolpe.com. There's a little widget that pops up, and you can schedule some time. Just reach out to me, or on any social, whatever.
That's right.
GVI Media, guys. That's the name of the game right there.
All right. Gene, enjoy the weekend.
I'll see you boys, Jim. Great seeing your face. Keep this going. It looks great.
All right, bro.
All right.
And
now that and once Gene is gone, we can spend the next 11 and a half minutes trashing the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Do it. I'll do it. I'm going to comment. I'm going to watch from the road. I will be
good.
Oh, Matt, you know what this means now?
What's that?
Shirts have now taken over the skins.
That's
We are
right.
now
Exactly.
dominating.
Finally, we're winning. All right, Jim, what's the best place for people to reach out? And most importantly, because I know you've got the podcast, we talked about that earlier, but the whole point of that podcast is to give people an opportunity to kind of get a sense of what your coaching is like, right? So give us a sense of like, where do people go to maybe take that next step with you?
So if you hop over to what you see on the screen there, eRealEstateCoach.com, E like an elephant. So eRealEstateCoach.com. When you hop over there, we've got, first of all, for anybody that wants to sign up, it's 14 days of coaching, free coaching. That'll kind of give you like a test drive of our entire system. But we've got 16 straight weeks. And when I say straight weeks, I mean every single day for 16 weeks to get you fired up and dialed in for lead generation. And then we combine that and pair that with live coaching every week, 3 live sessions. We've just added 2 huge components to it as well. We have digital assets that are being delivered to all of our agents and crews. So we have a digital design firm, Wilkerson Design, that's designing some amazing digital content for our membership. And then we've also partnered with Sisu.co in the last week. We're super stoked about that partnership. And so all of our agents now have the ability to track their goals and their daily activities and be able to see a daily dashboard of every single thing that they're doing to create amazing accountability. So go over and sign up, check it out for a free 14 days.
Wow,
Awesome. Love it.
That is really cool.
Greg, I was going to say that blows out. Like you've been doing free coaching for, like an hour a night for, I don't know, 2 straight years, but 2 weeks of free coaching, that blows your offer completely out of the water.
You know what, Matt? That's it.
I was going to say, I mean, you can match the offer. Would you, what if you offered for people to coach with you every day for 14 straight days, an hour a night? I mean, after all, if you don't do that, you have a cold black heart.
Well, you're right. And goodbye. Jim, it's just the 2 of us. Okay, back to the show. If you guys want to reach out to me, feel free. I think Jim's offer is going to beat my offer, so I'm going to sadly have to concede to Jim. But if you guys want to talk about EXP, you want to talk about what we're building, we got some phenomenal opportunities with EXP, guys. It is really, really amazing. We are on track to build the most profitable downline in EXP, and we have a very lofty goal. And love to talk to you guys about it. So go ahead and get a hold of me on my cell phone, 925-915-1978, like the year, or just email me at greg@gregmcdaniel.com. Super simple. Matt, now I heard a rumor. You published a pamphlet, which I refer to it very laughingly, but it's a phenomenal book. It's this one right here. It's called Micro Famous. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic book, guys. Where can they get a hold of either a hard copy or a digital copy?
Well, they can get a hard copy on Amazon, and so it's got like 45-star reviews right now, so it's doing really well there. So go get the hard copy there if you're like me and you want that physical copy in your hands, or you can get a free digital copy. Just go to getmicrofamous.com/free.
That is fantastic.
That is a fantastic book. I mean, I read a lot of books, Matt. It is really, really good. Really well done. And Greg, I tell all my students to go watch you on YouTube and just churning out those cold calls and killing it, man. You are like it's such a great example for everybody to watch. So thank you guys for both of you for what you're doing.
Yeah, Matt, Jim is my new co-host because he's my new best friend.
Yes. Well, it's been nice, Jim. I appreciate it. I will pass the torch over to you. Yeah.
All right, Matt, you have a duty, sir, and I don't mean in your diaper. I mean there is a job you need to do.
Yes, I'm going to go with a bright sunny yellow because I think people just need some sunshine and some love right now. So bright yellow bow that we shall wrap upon this episode and call it good.
Okay, Jim, you are a legend amongst men. Thank you for coming on again. We are definitely get you back. Super fun to have you on the show. Guys, if you'd like to have Jim on the show, please go to anywhere where you listen to podcasts. Give us a 5-star, not a 2-star review, because that's going to help the algorithm push us into more folks. Mention Jim in that post. We love you to pieces. We couldn't do it without you. But until next time, peace out, ninjas. We gone.